Nothing changes until it changes. Well, it's your responsibility as the owner to give them that next opportunity. $700,000 or $800,000 in a year. Sometimes owners are afraid to ask more of people around, ask for help, more people around them.
Hi everybody, this is Daniel speaking, and you are on the Marketing Game podcast. And Tony is my guest. We know each other for a while already, and we are both in the marketing. And the whole idea of this podcast and these videos is to share our experience about the marketing, the business, whatever you can implement or whatever can help your business growth. So Tony, it's your turn. Say a couple words about yourself, what you do.
Yeah, good to see you, Daniel.
Yeah.
Well, I'm one of the owners at Fanit. We help home service contractors with their digital marketing. But I think one of the things I want to talk about is when a home service business owner goes to scale their business, one thing that happens is they start out in the field or on the ladder or, driving truck or whatever, and they get their business to a point where they need to start working on their business and not in it. And that transition sometimes can be rough.
Yeah, that's definitely, by the way, that's an issue. And guys, if you're like growing from micro business or even from small business and you want to grow, that's definitely the topic which you will hear, and you maybe recognize yourself in that examples which Tony is talking about. Yeah. So, how do you see this problem actually? How do you see the issue?
When you hire an agency or you have somebody that's working with you at your business on your marketing, they're going to grow traffic to your website, they're going to grow leads, you're still getting referrals, but you get to a point where you have enough business or enough opportunity for business to scale. And some owners see their value as, oh, I got to be the guy doing it because I know best, and I might be leading my team on the field. And what happens is you get to a point where you cease to become the professional and you start to become the business owner. And it's a mindset shift. And if you don't make it, you might be scaling up against a certain level of revenue and going, well, how I want to grow, I have visions to grow, I think we can grow, but I just keep bumping up against. It usually means something like a transition in the way that you think as an owner has to happen. And so it relates to marketing, because if you can make that transition, you can have an agency help you grow even further, because they'll know the things to layer on next and next and next to get more of that business coming in.
Yeah. I had this case recently. I heard about from an owner of a huge franchise network. They have 48 franchisees. They work in HVAC. This is the niche where we focus with the marketing. And one of the main issues they have is that their franchisees, they're very good technicians, they're very good engineers. They started this business, but then the issue is like, how do I delegate that? I don't want to. They trying to keep all this work because they think that the best quality and the best delivery goes from them.
Yeah.
And then they just don't grow at all. Even sometimes for them it's hard to reach 1 million in revenue.
Right.
For some of them it's enough to earn something like 700,000 in revenue per year, but still, all of them they want to grow, but they don't know how.
There are some business owners out there that don't mind having what we would call a lifestyle business. They generate revenue, they can pay a few people, the income that they bring in is satisfactory, and they're fine, and they want to keep it that way. But the agent or the owners we're talking about are the guys who want to get past that. They want to have this business, and the role becomes, and this is another way it ties into marketing, when you make the transition, you go from a technician or a leader of technicians, let's say, or engineers, or the people doing the work, to someone who trains other people to do it.
Like coach,
Yeah, like
mentor.
like a mentor, a coach, and you're also constantly providing information about how to do their job better. The thing that happens, you have to create that content internally. You have to spend time doing it. And so your job becomes more as a teacher, a mentor. You have to get more into finances of the business. Not that you weren't into it before, but you have to get more into it. And the other thing you have to start considering is when you make an investment in marketing, what does it return to you and your business? Because your business is really an entity in and of itself. It has a profit and loss statement, it has a balance sheet. It's like a person that generates money and has bills. And so when you start to treat your business as like a person, its own entity, you can start to step back and analyze, oh, well, what money are we spending in marketing? What are we getting back? Oh, we don't know? Well, let's start tracking that. Your marketing agency can help you with that. Definitely.
And this is also one of the issues which this owner has to learn and find out how to analyze all that stuff. Yep.
Yeah. We at Fanit, we instituted a university, an internal university, and one of the things that we did is every other week we had an hour-long session we called Fanit University, and what we would do is we would pick a topic, and there would be a guest speaker. Now that guest was somebody on our internal team. So for us it is, oh, how do we do paid advertising better? Or it might be, we built this AI call agent. How does it work? Or in some cases it might be, how do we close the sales loop with marketing so that we know what the return on investment is for our clients' marketing spend? So we took these topics and we started recording them, and now we have an internal library, and now that internal library is used for training. But it could also be used for marketing. So let's say HVAC.
Yep.
If you're out there and you're the owner of an HVAC company and you're trying to scale, one thing you might start to do is put people on video on how you do these things.
And even
And
yourself.
I don't even know HVAC, but it's like, how do you properly duct a house? Or, what's the difference between this model and that model? And so you can be valuable to homeowners, but it's also can be doubled as training video for your
that's
staff.
a good idea. Yeah, and HVAC is quite complicated, I can tell you, because they need license, they need a lot of training, they need a lot of knowledge to install all that, the air conditioning and equipment and all that.
Yeah, but that's also the big opportunity, because your clients probably, my wife and I just built a house a few years ago, huge HVAC system. We also have a mini split in the basement. And so you, as a homeowner, it's like, why does it cost so much? Well, it's complicated, and here's why.
Yeah.
You could use those videos in how you communicate to clients. In a way that educates them as well.
So what I understand, if our owners, those owners who are still in the business, not in the business, but still in operations, let's say, in HVAC operations, they still
in the field.
doing the field job, it's not possible for them to really study and learn marketing, how it works. They cannot really analyze how to grow the company, and they have they have a ceiling very close to How do you think an average company, if the owner is doing all this stuff and it's not growing and not letting these operations go, what is the ceiling for this kind of company?
I think it depends on the person, but typically what I see is it starts to get to be around $700,000 or $800,000 in a year, where they start to bump up against, or some might go $1 million, $2 million, and they start to bump up against what they are capable of. And it's usually as big as the imagination of the owner.
Yeah.
And so when you bump up against those things, first of all, you got to recognize, like, if you're
I'm here.
I'm here. We keep trying all these different things, or, the first thing I always recommend is look for someone in your business that could be a number two. Meaning, is there someone that has the capability and maybe the dream to run the business. Or maybe another way to look at it, everybody wants the next level. Most people, I would say, especially after you've been doing something for a while, even in marketing, HVAC, roofing, whatever it is, you've been doing it for a while, you're an expert. And there are some people in those businesses that want the next thing. Well, it's your responsibility as the owner to give them that next opportunity. So if you have people that are, and sometimes they can get real grumpy and they won't even tell you that that's what they want, but now they're getting upset with this and upset with that. And sometimes, especially talented people, do that and they don't know how to communicate it. And so I've been through this process where it's like, oh, I'm frustrated. Well, if we gave you more responsibility, and they like dive into it. And so you just never know who you have on your team and who could think that way. But you have to start thinking of your people as the valuable people that are going to take your business to the next place. And you really kind of just have to get out of their way. But along the way, it's like having teenage kids, or I don't know if you have them or not, but we were all teenagers at one time. Somebody's coaching you along the way or providing a little guidance along the way, and someone's there supporting you. You have to be that as an owner.
Got it. So maybe you have an idea. So each HVAC technician or installer, they have usually a helper, a guy who is helping them in the operations. Maybe you have an idea, like if it has to be a helper, or they need to invite somebody and to come and find the real technician who is right away ready to do their job. Like how do you think this will work? To find the second number one,
Yeah,
second person.
second person. So you're talking about an apprentice program. So you have the experienced technician, then you have an apprentice.
It's even a structure, usual structure, which all the HVAC teams usually have. They have different roles, and one of the role, understand that to become an experienced installer, you need to be helper first.
Yeah.
It can be fast, by the way. I know the stories when the guy was a helper, and then in a couple of months, 3 months, he's doing installs and doing better than all the other installers. And but this is a great talent, I would say. And this may be a chance for number one or number two person in the growing team, when you can let go. Maybe, I mean, when you as an owner can let go the installations and operations in the field.
Yeah. So if you're out there and you're an owner, but you also are teaching an apprentice, there are other installers that have apprentices, and you might look at another installer. You might look at, let's say there's someone in the office that's the service manager. So if a client has an issue and they need to escalate an issue, who do they call? Well, maybe in this case it's the owner, but you might have a service manager role that takes that. Or you might have an office manager, it really just depends, that coordinates all the jobs and locations and all that stuff. But really you have to think about what is the responsibility of someone who manages the company. They have to understand the profit and loss, like where money comes from and what it's spent on, how to generate profit. Because as an owner of a business, you're not only taking a paycheck, but you also get all the profit that comes after. And a lot of smaller business owners just take that all in at once. They don't think about it. They just put it all in their pocket. So you have to start thinking that there's multiple ways to generate money as an owner. But the person who runs the business needs to understand all of that on the profit and loss. The person running the business also needs to make sure that you have the right installers on the right jobs. You have a big job, maybe you need more experienced installer, and you don't send the newbie out to do a huge job.
That's right.
So you have to be able to coordinate that kind of stuff. There's a lot that goes into it. I'm not an HVAC person, but I've run multiple businesses. And it's the same no matter what business you're running. It all boils down to your people, and you're paying attention to not just their money situation, but like what do they want? what makes them happy. There's some guys that like to build things. There's other guys that like to, hey, I just want to, I'll do this the rest of my life. Just put me in a box and, keep me going. There's some people that have ambition. So you just kind of have to pay attention to your people.
Got it. Let's discuss then the roles. So let's say you are started your own business. I'm your helper or whatever. So we have a team of 2 or 3 people which are making up to 1 million, or if we are successful, then a bit more. Then how would you behave like in terms of roles? I mean, roles of like finance, we need marketing, whatever we need. Yeah. Let's discuss each of this role, and how do you think that this owner, the founder, has to let go or have to learn these things? How to manage all that? Because how many roles? Let's start from this, and how to manage all this.
So let's use $1 million business.
Yeah.
And I'll try to keep it in the HVAC world, but let's just say service contractor world.
Yeah,
they're a little bit different, but so typically you'll have a general manager, you'll have a CPA, an accountant, and a bookkeeper. All those are usually rolled into one. They're usually outsourced. I won't go down individually, but that's the financial piece of it. Make sure you have someone that keeps the books clean. Make sure to file your quarterly state and your annual federal taxes. Make sure that your P&L is organized properly for your business. How you look at income or revenue, cost of goods sold, and then that gives you gross profit minus expenses gives you profit. Sometimes that part of the business isn't set up properly. That could be a whole nother discussion. But so you have the finance side of it, you have the general manager who oversees everyone, and then you have someone who's responsible for client satisfaction or customer satisfaction. It's usually a service manager of some kind. And then you have people in the field doing the work. The service manager tends to also, when you're smaller, tends to also be someone who coordinates the schedule and make sure that jobs are, if you have multiple jobs going on, that they're all staffed. By the way, the finance side also should handle payroll. And then you have kind of the marketing and sales side of things.
Yeah, we need somebody to sales.
So what is it that you're doing right now to bring in opportunity for new sales? Are you just getting referrals from customers? Are you running a paid search campaign or paid social campaign? Are you doing videos? There's all kinds of different marketing strategies, but they all should be tied back to your sales goals. And your sales goals should be specific enough to where you can say, and I'm just going to use round numbers to make it easy. Last year we did 100 sales and we did $1 million. So that's 100, what is that? Math on the spot. You're getting your average job size.
Yeah.
So you know about how big your jobs typically are.
Yeah, installations usually can be 8,000, sometimes 12,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you can do a little bit of back of the napkin math to say, oh, well, if we did 100 jobs last year and this is what we generated, this is how much revenue we generated, and this is how much profit we generated, well, can we do 200 jobs this year? Yeah. And if we maintain the same average, that should get us to this revenue and this profit. Well, the more sales you bring in, the more you have to staff it. So you have to have someone that understands operational finance, and that's usually the owner.
Yeah, and this is like business mind, so they can calculate if it's profitable or not. It makes sense to make these high-check installations or the low budget works.
And you also have to have someone in there who understands how to go generate leads, and someone who closes that business. So imagine if the owner is doing 4 of those roles. They're just pulled apart at the limbs, just like put on a rack and pulled apart. I think sometimes owners are afraid to ask more of people around, ask for help, more people around them, because they're just generally wired to do really good work and they're just always on it. But that's what you have to start doing. And the best way to do that, by the way, no one ever tells you this either. When you scale your business, you're going to have to put in double time until you get the person
Yep.
behind you in.
The time is an investment, yeah?
It's
Or
an
either.
investment in figuring out how to do it. So it's not only do you have to do your work, your daily job and work, you have to figure out what are the next moves. And this is where you have to start relying on people. But the first thing that I do is have the owners I work with build an org chart. And what an org chart is, if you're not familiar, it basically boxes that says, here's the owner, here's the CPA, here's the service manager, here.
Marketing, sales.
Marketing, sales. And then you put a name in it, and then you put a dollar amount of how much it costs.
And sometimes it's a lot of a lot of spaces. It's going to be your name.
Yeah, right. If you're the owner that's doing a lot of jobs,
Yeah.
you're like, oh no, that's me. Oh no, me. But you're getting paid for the. Here's back to what I was talking about, how you have to treat a business as its own person. Well, when the business looks and Daniel's on 6 of those boxes, Daniel's making a lot of money. Great for Daniel. But the problem is the works are all gummed up because Daniel's in every job. So you have to look at it and say, let's say I'm making $1,000 a month for doing, I don't know, an office manager job. That's the wrong number, but I'm making a certain amount of money. You have to think to yourself, I have to go pay someone that amount of money, or better yet, the business can afford to pay that amount of money in that box. So if I've got to find somebody that can do that job for that amount of money. 2, I'm giving up that money if my name's on that box. It's a little bit easier to understand when it's visual, but you can kind of get the picture. The double time you have to do as an owner is to figure this stuff out. Also do the job. Replacing yourself or finding someone to do a job that you're already doing takes double the work for a period, because not only do you have to define it, you have to train them on what it means to do a good job. And you're right, no one's ever going to do as good a job or pay as close as attention as an owner. It's just not going to happen, unless they're an owner. Now, there's a whole nother discussion about selling parts of your business to employees that we could have on another conversation, but there's different ways and creative ways to make these things happen and carry the burden,
You know what else I have in my mind, that when you see all these roles on the work chart and you are there in, let's say, 5 roles out of 6 or something like that, and you understand that, to be honest, you are not the best guy to accomplish each of these roles. And there are people who are better than you, and of course it does make sense to just let it work to other people, let that work to other guys.
It absolutely, there's probably people in some cases that they're more passionate than you about that role.
Let's say even marketing.
Marketing, completely marketing.
Yeah.
So when you think about marketing,
sales, finance, also, but we're good in marketing, so we can understand that if a guy, let's say, if an HVAC expert, also a good marketer, that's a bingo. That's that. This is where then at daytime he works in the field, and the evening he manages his marketing, and he's
that helps, because now when he brings on someone like you or me or my team, he understands what's going on. And he can ask the right questions. He can, hold people accountable. That's
and
really
he has a very good vision, and this vision really helps, not slows down the process, and he understands how to calculate the budget for marketing, so it can be very interesting for him as an investment.
Well, in that situation too, those types of owners are really good at getting client testimonials and getting those client testimonials on video. That helps the marketer out, because in HVAC, in any business really, when you're out there getting testimonials and you have it on video saying, this HVAC company was the greatest thing since canned beer, it's like 10 of those and you start to develop a reputation.
That's correct, by the way, because I saw many accounts who are, I believe that already a long time on the market, but they have very few reviews, or fewer than they could have, or their reviews without pictures, without videos, and this is what a good like the guy who knows how marketing works, it can do faster and more and better. I mean, if the owner is good in marketing.
Yeah.
And finance also, but if not talking only about the marketing side, yeah, the finance, sometimes you just need to calculate the figures and see the numbers if it really makes sense to do this kind of works, jobs, or like with smaller checks. For example, appliance repair, which like $150, $200, maybe $300 per visit.
Yeah.
And for most of the growing company, it doesn't make sense to stick to this kind of jobs. They just switch to higher checks.
Yeah.
And also thanks to marketing. So if they're able to attract better leads, they can convert them better with the sales expertise and their business growth.
Marketing is the lifeblood. It's always going to give you new opportunity, or it should.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me is sometimes, and I don't know if HVAC is so much this, but other service-based business, sometimes, and depending on where they're located, there might be seasonality. So demand dries up. It's another conversation where demand dries up. And so that's actually the time when you need to invest in marketing, so that when demand hits, you capture more of it every year.
Yeah, and some channels really work and help to really stabilize your revenue during the low season. And we just talked today with the girl. She's also in HVAC marketing, and she said that they turn on advertising. If it's set up correctly, then they really balance the revenue with in the lower season.
Yeah.
So really that works. And some guys which are not ready to invest in marketing and in the lead generation during the low season, they just slow down the business. Maybe even
everybody takes a break.
Yeah, they take a break. Maybe they still pay their salaries, and then they try to understand if the overall profit during the year, if they're good or not, but they can only get it after the season, after the high season. But it also may happen that the high season will be also not so high.
Do you know if HVAC charges more in the winter, like more in the slow season and less in the...
No, I don't think so, because it's a great competition, and in the low season, it's sometimes it's even more because everybody like have time to do it, and maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, one of the biggest issues for the HVAC is how to live through this low season, because usually what they say at the high season, it's enough work for everybody, and it's enough work to do, even with like the regular marketing.
Yeah. Interesting. The seasonality in businesses fascinates me sometimes. Love to have a conversation about that.
We are more in marketing, and this is why we talk a bit more about marketing, but also the main theme of this video, I believe that this is the mind switch of a business owner or a young founder, not the young founder, of the new founder, that guy who already like 1 year or 2 years is doing his HVAC business or whatever other home service business, and tries to manage everything by himself, or can delegate and can build this strong team who can help him to grow.
I think the other thing too to remember here is that we're in marketing. We don't run the HVAC business, we don't run the roofing business, but what we understand is how those businesses operate. And your marketing partner, whoever it is, Daniel, me, whoever it is, needs to understand how your business operates. Because we know, or the good agencies know, that we're a part of your P&L. We're on the cost. And if we don't do a good job, if we don't work together with you and do a good job, then the business doesn't afford our service. And the top agencies look at their clients that way. Otherwise, they're just a vendor out there, pushing marketing packages, and they aren't really in tune to what's going on in the business. And
you're very right here,
Anyway, that's what I hope everybody takes from this. Is it's not just about getting to a point where you can work on your business instead of in it. It's about picking the right people that do the different jobs you need them to do to run a successful business, and digital marketing is definitely one of those.
So yeah, let's make a short conclusion. So you guys, if you want to stay with your current revenue, and if you're good with that, and you're okay that your company is not growing or will not grow, then it's also an option. But if you want to grow your company, your home services or HVAC or any other business, local business, you definitely need to understand your org chart. Yeah, define which roles are you playing, are you still playing, and how to manage all this without you, step by step, giving up one role by one, and this really what will help your company grow, is understand to multiple 7 figures, then to 8 figures.
Yeah, get the right people in those roles, definitely.
And learn, switch your mindset, because otherwise it will not work. It doesn't, from your experience, as I understand, from my experience, same.
Nothing changes until it changes.
Yeah, so think about it. Thank you for watching. Do marketing, delegate everything you can delegate. And we wish your business growth.
Good luck out there.
Bye-bye.